A gift is something that you give from your heart. Whatever it's got inside, you can't buy with money. You have to feel it.
How do you honor a legend? How do you celebrate his life? How do you say thank you? People all over the world have paid tribute to him, and now it is our turn. Now he is home. Our message is a simple one, spoken simply, quietly, and in one voice. The voice of our friend, our father, our brother, our benefactor, our teacher, and our beloved president of the Armenian General Benevolent Union, Alex Manoogian.
I learned from my mother, really, to help others when I was a little kid. When I was a little kid again, because there were some families in the city that they were not well-to-do, and they needed help sometimes, and we helped them. The church has preserved the Armenian nation all these years. If it wasn't for our church, we would have been lost a long time ago. Because church was our home. We loved it. We were Christians. We loved it because church ran all the schools. Our children went to church schools. That's where they learned their language, their history, and everything else. In church, in the ceremony, we have two candle bearers, two boys that go with the priest, wherever he goes and all that. See, they were gonna choose another candle bearer because the one was grown up and was gonna go into the choir. They were gonna elect somebody else. And I was very anxious to be elected. There were 3 candidates. And my father was treasurer of the church. He was always been a treasurer in the church. I asked my father, I said, Dad, I said, they're gonna elect a candle bearer. Would you help me? Will you help me? He says, no, you're on your own. You have to fight for your rights. So fortunately, I was elected candle bearer.
But despite the whole family's commitment to their community and their church, life was still difficult for the Manoogians and other Armenians living in the port city of Smyrna, Turkey. For Alex's father, Takvor, his mother, Takuhi, and Alex's younger sisters, Aravni and Margaret, and brother Charles, life in Smyrna was unsettling, to say the least.
Turkey had turmoil with their king, and youngsters came into power. And we don't know what's going to happen to Armenians. Because in Turkey, Armenians were massacred from time to time. From time to time.
Finally, young Alec, after laboring as a student and an apprentice for most of his youth, decided that only by coming to America could he fulfill his dreams.
My boat was leaving 17 days, and I went back home. Back home? How am I going to tell my parents? 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. I had 17 days. The 4th day, my mother grabbed me He says, what's the matter with you? Are you sick? I was getting sick. I said, Mother, I'm going to America. She shook up, started crying. Finally, she said, I won't stand on your way. They were worried too, but we never talked about it, see. My father came home, I told him about it. He said, son, you go ahead if you want to go.
In 1920, Alex Manoogian came to America, settling for a while in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Alex worked in a confectionery store and a factory where his job was to shine spoons. The bright young immigrant could speak 5 languages. Unfortunately, English was not one of them. But while life was a struggle for Alex in the United States, his family was having an even more difficult time in the old country. Just 2 years after he left Smyrna, Alex's family was forced to flee the latest wave of Turkish persecution. Alex's father was arrested, his family was homeless, and his city was in flames.
My people lost everything. They had to leave Turkey. Fortunately, they were able to come to Greece with nothing. Just imagine, with nothing.
Alex was desperate to save enough money for his family to emigrate, but he knew this would never happen in Bridgeport. In 1924, Alex Manoogian moved to Detroit, where he knew he could earn more money, and even more importantly, be closer to Windsor and the Canadian border when it came time to bring his family over. In Detroit, Alex tried to support himself by working at several small shops and factories, but it still wasn't easy. Prospective employers would ask the young immigrant if he knew how to work a certain kind of drill press or a lathe. And Alex, in his best English, would say, of course he could, when of course he couldn't. In 1929, Alex and 2 partners started their own company, Masco Screw Products. But these were the Depression years, and the streets of Detroit were not yet paved with gold for Alex Manoogian, at least not right away.
We couldn't make a living, hardly make a living. Things were bad. I had some bills to pay, I couldn't pay them. You know, I couldn't pay them, so I didn't know what to do. Then our scrap man walks in. We make scraps, we sell it to scrap picker. He was a Jewish gentleman, nice old man. He says, what's wrong? He says, are you sick or something? I said, no, but I said, I'm in trouble. What kind of trouble? He says. Well, he says, I got bills to pay and I can't pay it. I need money. He says, how much money do you need? Well, I said, at least I gotta have $1,000 at least. Right now, $1,000, you know, it's a lot of money in 1930, when the banks were closed, all that, see. If we had money in the bank closed. I got another story about that. He said, don't worry, don't worry. So he left. He left. A couple hours later, he walks in with an envelope. He says, here's $1,500 for you. I said, I shook up. He says, I know you're going to make good. That's the way he put it. I know you're going to make good.
In 1930, Alex Manoogian found another partner. Marie Tutjian was a beautiful young woman, a musician and a scarf painter from New York. But as Alec and Marie describe it, theirs was not exactly a romance that blossomed overnight.
I knew an old gentleman. I was in business. And I knew an old gentleman here in the city, intellectual man. He was about 70. Came to me one day. He says, talking, he says, she says, I met a nice girl. Oh, he says, start bragging about it. I said, what's the matter with you? Going to get married again? He was single. See, he says, no. He says, it's for you.
I don't remember the details, but we were in the car, sitting in the car together. And of course, we said it looked like as if we were going to match. But he said, you know, I can't get married for a year. Did he tell you that?
My business is not good. I can't afford it, see. I can't afford it. My parents in Greece, you know, I have to support them and all that.
So we waited 1 year. And sure enough, at the end of that 1 year exactly, he came over and he said, it's all over, let's get married.
Finally, the struggling but talented young businessman saved enough money for his parents to come to America to join him and his sister Margaret. And a few years later, Alec was able to bring the rest of his family, Aravni, Charles, and his younger brother George, who was born in Greece. In 1936, Masco went public, the first Armenian company ever to be listed on the stock exchange. At last, life started to improve for the Manoogians of Detroit, which by now included two new additions to the family, Louise and Richard. Meanwhile, the Masco family continued to grow and expand. In 1942, assisting in the nation's war effort earned the small metalworks company its first $1 million. In 1948, Masco moved to new headquarters in Dearborn. And then something happened to change the course of Alec Manoogian's life and Masco forever. In 1952, Alec purchased the sales rights for a new single-handle faucet. And after 3 years of research and development, Masco began production of the remarkable Delta faucet.
We grew from nothing. When I started Masco, I had nothing. I have spent $50 million so far for charities. I couldn't have done it without Masco. And I could have done what I did without the AGBU.
Masco's good fortunes fueled Alex and Marie's determination to share what they had with fellow Armenians, especially the young people.
Our children are very important because without our children, without their future, we will be lost. We want our youth to be proud of their nation. And AGBU is doing that. We operate in 21 different countries, and we have 22 schools, Armenian schools, and we have youth centers, all these countries, and we spend practically $10 million a year for our young people. It's a beautiful world to live in. It's a beautiful world. We don't appreciate it. Look at it. It's beautiful like the sun, the moon, the lakes, oceans, flowers all over. And this and that, we should enjoy this world, appreciate it, instead of trying to kill each other.
The Alex and Marie Manoogian Seminary in Jerusalem, a quiet, peaceful place, a sanctuary of faith built by a man of faith. Echmiadzin, Armenia, the center of the Armenian Apostolic Church since the 4th century AD, and home to the Alex and Marie Manoogian Museum, where priceless art treasures and religious artifacts are being preserved for generations to come, just as they are thousands of miles away inside the new Alex Manoogian Museum at St. John's Church in Detroit. It has been said that where there is no vision, the people will perish. A fate the Armenian people have been spared, thanks largely to the vision of the AGBU and its members, men and women like Alex and Marie Manoogian. Alex Manoogian has provided 75 years' service to his church, a tradition started by Alex's parents in Smyrna and continuing today at St. John's Armenian Church and Cultural Center.
We built a small church on Oakland Boulevard, small church. And then when we got well better financially, I would say, we wanted to build a bigger church. We built a big church, something that would remind us the old country and the old churches. And the most beautiful church, not in the United States, but throughout the world. We are very proud of our church, very proud.
Over the years, Alex and Marie have expressed pride in their community in so many ways, especially in the Detroit area with the endowment of 2 chairs at the University of Michigan, one in Armenian history and the other in Armenian language and literature. Alex and Marie donated their home to the city of Detroit as the mayor's official residence, the Manoogian Mansion. In Livonia, Michigan, the Takfor and Takuhi Manor for the Elderly is named after Alex's parents. And of course, Wayne State University is the home of the Alex Manoogian Hall Ethnic Heritage Center. Whether it's in Detroit, New York, Los Angeles, Paris, Montreal, or in the mother country, Alex Manoogian has expressed his hopes and dreams for the Armenian community through the work of the AGBU, an organization for which he served as life president for 36 years.
As far as I'm concerned, 36 years, almost 36 years, went by very fast. A man feels that he should help his people, nation. This is very important, that we survive all these years. It's a miracle. That's why I love our nation. And we do all we can to perpetuate it. If you ask me if I was born again, what nationality I would choose, I like to be born Armenian again.
Almost everyone who knows him has a story about Alex, not just about his generosity, but because he has always been there, wherever and whenever he was needed, serving as a magnet, as an example for others.
One letter I received some years ago from poor country South America. The man says, I'm getting old and I haven't helped my people. So I like to help my people a while. And I made some inquiries, he says, and they gave me your name. So would you please tell me where to send the money? Well, South America, a poor country. I said to myself, what can I expect from this man? Maybe $5,000, $10,000 would be pretty good money, see, something like that. So a month went by, and I received a letter from him. Then I opened the letter. Nice, beautifully written letter in English, beautiful English. And he had some drafts to National Bank of New York. I looked, some certificates, $600,000. Gradually, he kept transferring, and he transferred $2 million to me eventually. So this is nice people.
He has called his work with the AGBU and with Masco his two loves. But Alec is also the first to admit that he couldn't have retired from active life in either organization without the love and help of his two children.
It's difficult to describe a son. First of all, you worry quite a bit as to what's going to happen, what he's going to do. You worry more about your son than you would for your daughter, see, because your daughter eventually is going to get married to somebody, and that will be somebody else's worry, see. But your son is different. It's your worry, more or less. What's he going to do?
But Alec didn't have to worry very long about his only son. After graduating from Yale in 1958 with a degree in economics, Richard Manoogian joined his father at Masco, where he made an immediate impression.
He was pretty smart, intelligent with figures. The first year he came into me, 6 months, 8 months later, he made some deals with the press company. He saved $75,000. My purchasing agent said, Jesus, you know what happened? We saved $75,000 that we're going to save this year. Louise is different. Louise is something else. She wanted to help. She wanted to help. Well, she was indifferent about Armenians for a while. Didn't want to work with Armenians too much. And she was Americanized woman. And she was helping American societies. Didn't want to get involved with Armenians, see. And I built a museum in Armenia. And we had to go to the opening. So I took her with us. When she got back, she was a different woman.
When she accepted the presidency of the Armenian General Benevolent Union, Louise Manoogian Simone received the torch passed on to her by her father. It is a flame that burns bright in the heart of every Armenian, the torch of faith, of freedom, of a nation's very survival, nourished now and forever by the Manoogian tradition of caring, sharing, and taking responsibility for each other.
You can't live alone in this world. If you're alone, you're nothing. You have to have a circle. You have to have people. I was gardener when I was 14 years old, 13 years old. We all had a pot in our school, our yard. Each boy had a pot, and you had to garden. You had to plant flowers and all that, see. And you get a prize at the end of the year. Whoever garden was nice, looked beautiful, you get a prize every year. It doesn't take very much. If you take care of it to begin with, you have to put it in a place where they can take enough sun to grow, and enough water to keep it alive, enough fertilizer to keep it healthy. little fertilizer, little water, that's all.